in Mago Reddit. Today's story is
My twin brother received a BMW at our graduation and I only received invoices to pay, which happened 8 weeks later. Nobody expected it. Life has a peculiar way of revealing who each person really is when money comes into play. My name is Daniel and I have a twin brother, Andrew. During our upbringing, we were always treated differently. This was because Andrew was my parents' favorite for reasons I cannot understand. Perhaps because he excelled at sports and was popular, everything my father would have liked to be in his youth. I, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. I preferred books to sports, computers to social gatherings. I didn't resent Andrew for this. I liked my personality. What I disliked was the unequal treatment from my parents. Even so, I never imagined it would come to this. We both graduated from university on the same day. My family should be proud that both their children obtained university degrees. Not many people can boast of that. Andrew had chosen an easier path, studying a less demanding degree, while I took a different direction. I started working on the internet from the age of 16, doing freelance projects and saving every penny I could. By the time we graduated, I had accumulated a respectable amount of savings. I'm not rich by any means, but I had a good starting point. The day after graduation, my parents surprised Andrew with a new luxury car, a shiny black BMW. He was ecstatic, jumping with excitement, hugging our parents as if they had handed him the keys to a mansion. I felt happy for him, truly, but I couldn't help feeling a little curious. I wasn't expecting a car, it wasn't something I was interested in. Maybe a watch, a heartfelt letter, even a simple "we're proud of you" would have been nice. When my father handed me an envelope, I didn't know what to expect. Maybe they didn't know what to give me and they were just giving me money, which would have been very thoughtful coming from my parents. Inside was an invoice, a long list of figures, amounts and totals. I looked at it confused. What does this mean? My mother smiled as if she had given me the best gift in the world. It's only fair, Daniel. You've been working for years, you've saved a lot. It's time for you to help the family. My father nodded in agreement. Andrew hasn't saved anything yet. He'll need support to start his life. But you're responsible, you have money. This is just a small way to contribute. I felt my blood run cold. They weren't giving me a gift. They were handing me their debts. They expected me to pay for them, while they rewarded Andrew with a luxury car. And they thought this was fair. I looked at Andrew expecting, I don't know, maybe a little guilt. Maybe a "hey, this isn't right." But he just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Come on, mate, you always say you don't care about money." That's when I made my decision. I took a deep breath, folded the paper carefully and put it back in the envelope. I said, "Thanks for this. It's a real lesson." My mother smiled at me and said, "I knew you'd understand." I smiled back at her, then packed my things and left. I didn't scream or argue. I don't think they fully understood what I was doing, which is why they didn't try to stop me at any point. At least not yet. But that would soon change. Because 2 weeks later, I received the first desperate call. I ignored the first call. Then the second. By the third call, my voicemail was full of messages from my parents, my brother, even my aunt. At first they were casual. "Hi, Daniel, we just wanted to know how you are, call us." Then a little more insistent, "Daniel, why don't you answer? We need to talk." Then in desperation, "Please, Daniel, we didn't mean it, just call us." But I didn't. I wanted them to continue suffering a little more for the thoughtful gift they had given me. I was putting myself first, like they always put my brother first, so I don't think it was wrong. When I left my parents' house, I stayed at an Airbnb for a while in another city. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do yet, but I knew I wasn't going back. I had enough savings to get by, but my parents didn't have the same fortune. By the second week, my brother started calling. At first, it was all peace and harmony. "Dude, stop being dramatic, just come back already." I blocked his number. Then my mother changed strategy. "Daniel, honey, we're having a hard time. You know we've always supported you. Can't you help us a little?" That was ironic, coming from the woman who smiled as she handed me a bill instead of a birthday card. Then the real worry began. One night, I was checking my email when I saw a message from my father. The subject line read, "Please read this." I hesitated for a moment, but curiosity got the better of me. "Daniel, we're in trouble. We took out some loans that we can't pay back and we thought we could handle them. But things are getting worse. Andrew doesn't have the means to help us and we thought you wouldn't mind. You've always been so independent, so responsible. We underestimated the situation and for that, I'm sorry. But we need you. Please at least call us back." I stared at the email for a long time. It was the first time they had come close to admitting they had made a mistake, but even so it was not a genuine apology. They were not sorry for how they had treated me, they were sorry that I had left. And now their perfect son, their golden boy, was no longer enough to solve their problems. For years, I had seen them give Andrew everything while they expected me to be responsible. And now, when their decisions finally took their toll, ironically speaking, who did they turn to? To me. Because Andrew, the son they had prioritized all those years, was not able to help them. I closed the email without replying. Then, a few days later, I received the call that changed everything. It was my aunt, and for the first time, I hesitated before ignoring her. I looked at my phone for a moment before deciding to answer. I didn't know what to expect from my aunt. She wasn't that involved in the conflict, but she had always been a kind of mediator between my parents and me. When I answered, her voice was soft. "Daniel, can we talk for a moment?" I sighed. "About what?" "About your parents. They're worried about you." I said, "Yes, I know. But I think they're a little more worried about themselves at the moment." I don't know if she was speechless or wasn't expecting my answer, but there was a pause, then she said, "Please don't be like this. They made a mistake. They thought you'd understand. They didn't want things to go this way." My aunt seemed desperate for me to patch things up with my parents, as if I were somehow involved. I took a deep breath and asked her the question that had been on my mind for days. Why did they buy Andrew a car if they're in trouble, if they have debts? How is that possible? How could they think that was okay? There was another long pause. Then she finally found the words, "I don't know, Daniel. They just thought they could handle it. They always wanted to give Andrew the best, and they thought it would be a good way to celebrate his graduation. They never imagined you would leave because of it." I asked her, "And what about me? What did they give me for graduating?" An invoice for their debts." I was resentful, but it was impossible not to be when they not only give everything to your brother, but also make you responsible for it. My aunt's response didn't help at all, because it was a pretty poor justification. They didn't know how to show you that they were proud of you. They thought you'd understand because you've always been the responsible one. But they were wrong and they're sorry. They're really sorry. I shook my head, although I couldn't see myself. Then I replied, "Do you really think they were wrong because they thought I would understand? What did I need to understand? That sacrifices had to be made for my brother. If they want to do that, they are free, but I am not going to sacrifice anything." But it was far from over. They didn't give me a car, an opportunity, not even a proper thank you for all the work I've done. Instead, they gave me their problems and now they want me to fix them. My aunt was silent for a long time. "Daniel, I think they're finally realizing they made a mistake. They just don't know how to fix it. Please come home and let them make it up to you." I can't imagine how they can make up for years of behaving like that. Maybe this was the worst, but it's not an isolated behavior of my parents. Hey, I believe that people can change, but for that they have to prove it. So I told my aunt that when they showed they had done it, we could talk about forgiving them, but as long as they didn't ask me for money. My Aunt Karen sighed with relief. "Thank you, Daniel, I know this isn't easy." I said, "Don't thank me, because it's not going to be easy. But for them, they're going to have to make a lot of amends and I have no idea how they'll be able to do it." Then my aunt added, "But there's something you should know. Andrew also called me and has been asking if you're coming back. He's not as indifferent to the situation as you think." I frowned. "Really? Is he worried?" "Yes, but it's more than that. He's starting to see the big picture. He's starting to realize everything you've done for the family and how much he's taken for granted." I didn't know what to think about that. Andrew, the golden boy, realizing his actions? It sounded too good to be true. But maybe, just maybe, things could change. I still didn't know if I was ready to go back, but I had the feeling that this story wasn't over. And in the next conversation, I would hear something that would push me to finally make a decision. Days passed, and I was still in my little Airbnb, organizing my thoughts, refusing to return the call. But then something unexpected happened. It was a Thursday or Friday night when my phone vibrated. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway. "Daniel?" It was Andrew. "Yes," I replied, my voice calm. Andrew's voice sounded nervous, as if he were gathering up his courage to tell me something. That's why there was a pause between my reply and when he started to speak. Neither of us asked how the other was. We just wanted to hear what he had to say. "Daniel, I'm sorry, but things have got worse. Mom and Dad, they didn't listen to me. I tried to talk to them, but they're stubborn. They kept insisting they could handle it. But now they had to sell the car." I was surprised by this, because I didn't think they would sacrifice the gift of their favorite son, so they must be in serious trouble. Yes, my part that has been angry these days felt satisfied. "They sold the car?" I repeated. Andrew replied like a child who hadn't been given his ice cream. "Yes, they had no choice. The bills piled up and we couldn't keep up with the payments. They sold it to cover some of the debt. The car is gone. Daniel, I don't know what to do. I leaned back in my chair, looking out the window, maybe even smiling a little. If you buy an expensive car for one of your children and give the other nothing, bad things should happen. And it also applies to Andrew, because he never refused the gift because of the differences it made between us. Andrew continued talking. He seemed on the verge of tears because his voice broke on some words, but he couldn't make me feel sympathy. I said to him, Andrew, that car was too much for you. You should have known this would happen, that they wouldn't have the means to keep it, neither you nor your parents. I don't know why you're calling me to tell me this, but if you're expecting me to go and get it back for you, you're wasting your time. You'll have more luck if you go to church and pray there. Maybe someone has left one for charity and can give it to you. Andrew was silent. Look, Andrew, I warned them when they gave me the bills. If they already needed help to pay for the car or to pay other expenses, your car's days were numbered. Andrew's voice began to sound increasingly desperate. Daniel, please. I know this is wrong, but they didn't want this to happen. We never wanted things to end up like this. They're your parents too, and if you help them, maybe I'll get my car back. I don't want you to pay for it, I just want you to help our parents so they can give me back my present. I said to him, you know what, Andrew? This could be a costly lesson for all of you if you choose to take something positive from this, one that you need to learn the hard way. If you had thought a little more, you wouldn't be in this situation now. I hope it hurts. Andrew started to cry and it was pathetic to hear. He was a grown man crying because his parents couldn't afford to buy him a luxury car. He should be looking for a job so he could buy whatever car he wanted, but instead he was crying for his brother. And it wasn't just whimpering that Andrew was doing, he was crying his heart out, making noises with his nose and everything, which echoed around the phone. If he was expecting me to comfort him and tell him I was going to get him the car, he was very much mistaken. Instead, I hung up and sat back in my chair smiling. The scales had tipped and my family were finally learning the consequences of their actions. The following days were uneventful. I kept my distance by staying at the Airbnb and not answering messages or calls. I didn't even check my phone much, except to catch up on work. Honestly, it felt liberating. I no longer had to deal with anyone's drama. Then, on Sunday afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. I was about to ignore it, but something inside me told me it was time to face it once and for all. Did I answer? It was my mother who was also calling to implore for help. Daniel, please, I'm begging you, can you just listen to us? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I leaned back in my chair. If this Airbnb has the best chair of all, breathing out slowly. I was enjoying how his favoritism was catching up with them and it was going to take all the time in the world, in my favorite place. Finally I said to him, you can talk, but make it quick. Daniel, we know we were wrong, we should never have put all that pressure on you. We should have been better. We're really sorry. Please come back. We'll fix everything. Just come home so we can show you how sorry we are. Andrew cried on the phone, the same brother who only smiled when they gave him the car and nothing to me. Well, the bills for him to pay. Now I had my mother crying, although not completely, for me to come back, when days before she was giving me a list of things I had to do for them. I asked her, why exactly do you feel bad? Buying Andrew a car while I took care of his mess? Is that what you regret? Or do you feel bad because they had to sell it and they have nothing to give to the golden son? He hadn't rehearsed that part of the conversation. Perhaps he thought that with a little pleading I would accept and he didn't expect the argument to go on for long. But he didn't have much to say. At least until his brain started working again. Daniel, we never wanted things to get this far, we never wanted to hurt you. Please, just come back. We'll do whatever it takes to make it right. You're still our son, and we love you. It almost felt pathetic to hear her beg after everything they'd put me through. And the magic word love, when I've never been loved at all, I'm not sure they love me. They may love that I help them, that I can even give them money now, but loving me as their son, what that sentence represents, is far from being applied in you. But love doesn't fix years of favoritism and neglect. And frankly, an apology isn't enough. I had my doubts that you could do anything to fix this. And if it's just an apology you have to offer, then it's been a waste of time. Try apologies to pay off debts. You do that and then tell me how well you got on exchanging money for apologies. I told my brother, but I didn't know if he had told you or if he had conveyed it in the right way, so I repeated it. I'm not going back, Mom. You made your choices and now you're living with the consequences. They're not pretty, but you'll have to learn them. However, I won't be there to be your guardian or teacher. And my dad's voice came on the line. We never wanted to take you away from us. We just thought you could help us out a bit. We felt bad about not giving your brother a gift for his efforts. We didn't think you would need anything or that university would be such a big effort. You always made it look easy." I let out a low laugh. "You didn't want to take me away?" "Well, they have a very strange way of showing it. They bought Andrew a car, they gave me a bill and they expected me to stay by their side. They didn't send me away, they threw me out onto the street. And when I was lying on the floor, with my belongings, they came out of the house to kick me in the ribs. That's how they felt about what they did to me and Andrew." My father was already crying and begged, "Please, son, we were just trying to give Andrew something. We wanted him to feel proud of his graduation and we thought that would make him feel good. But we realized it wasn't worth it, not if it meant losing you." It almost seemed like they were groveling now and the power was completely in my hands. "You're right about one thing, Dad. You did lose me. And you're not going to get me back just because you suddenly realized your mistakes. I'm done here, so save your apologies. Save your guilt. And the next time you want to celebrate someone, maybe think about buying a card. And if it's your 2 children you have to celebrate, at least buy them." The call ended there because I wanted it too. I wasn't in the mood to hear about their mistake, not wanting to lose me and all that stuff. I stared at my phone for a long time, thinking they would call back, but I felt quite satisfied with my answers. I don't know what I expected from them, because I didn't want an expensive gift or anything like that. But so far their apologies have been more about them than about me. It's always been, "We don't want to lose you," but I've never gotten a message from them saying they were proud of what I accomplished. Maybe it would be different if my parents cut Andrew off and stopped spoiling him so much. That would be a step forward. But that's not going to happen. I have to get my head out of my ass. But in part I think it's for the best. That's only going to bring more ruin to my parents, and I hope to be sitting in my comfy chair to see it. That I want to take with me when I move out of the Airbnb, but I don't think it will fit in the suitcase. Update 1. I was always clear that I would only make one post talking about my parents to vent years of favoritism, but now I'm not so sure. Because here I have an update that is partly because I have been asked for it, and partly because my parents' financial history has evolved. For the worse, unfortunately, I couldn't take the chair with me. It's not like a hotel towel that people can just put in their suitcase. I spoke to the owner about buying it, but he told me that it had been in his family, so my dream of having it with me was quickly dashed. Until I went to a carpenter with some photos I took of it, and he made me a fairly similar replica. It's not 100% the same, but it's close enough. I'm living in a house that I bought with the help of the bank and my savings. That means I have debts, like my parents. This is important for what I'm about to say. I received a message from my parents a few weeks ago, saying that, even if they hadn't said it in words, they were proud of me for everything I had achieved. And I replied, "I'm proud of you too, but I don't think words are enough to describe it. So I'll send you my mortgage to pay. That's how proud I am of you." For those who were asking what kind of debts I had to pay, it was an interesting list. There were their credit cards, but also my brother's new car. Yes, they wanted me to pay for the BMW. What a gift, you choose it and someone else pays for it. I would like to do the same with my house. They asked me if now that my parents are asking my brother to help them, because he had found a job and moved out, leaving my parents to deal with their debts. And they are going to need it, because I still have the bills they wanted me to pay, and even I have been shocked to see the figures written there. There is more than $135,000 in credit card debt, although they have already sold it, and part of the mortgage that they had refinanced at a higher rate. They may have recovered a large part of it with the sale of the car, although from how quickly it went, I don't think they received much. If I were in their position, I would also be desperate for money and would have sold as soon as possible, as the car also has its expenses. And as for my aunt, as I suspected, she had an interest in this because she had lent them money, about $22,000, and wanted me to help her get her money back. Update 2. I hope that when you are reading this you are as comfortable as I am writing this in my chair. I had my doubts about whether or not to give an update on my family in recent months, but it's a great excuse to be sitting here. For those of you who thought that my brother would have his own BMW by now that he had got a job, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. He doesn't have a car and the area he lives in isn't the nicest. He has been robbed twice on his way to work in the morning and they have also broken into his house and taken what little he had. It's all he can afford. It's not like he had a change of heart and decided to take responsibility. He's just leaving my parents to deal with their money problems. He's saving himself. My parents haven't been doing very well either, because the bank took their house after months or years of debt. They were behind with the payments before they gave me the bills. They've been at least more than a year without paying, which is when I made my first publication. My brother, at least, has an apartment. It's not the nicest, it's broken into, and he probably has neighbors that you'd meet in prison if one day a judge was there too, but at least he can afford the rent. My parents have to live with my aunt, so it's much worse. It's good that it wasn't one of the most expensive BMWs, but who would think of giving such a gift when you're already in so much trouble? And my aunt now, she can wait for years if she survives long enough to get back what she lent them. My family has a dark future ahead of them, as dark as the color of the car they gave my brother. Don't you think that's curious?